Hey, what's up, everybody? Blair here from Blair Patterson Racing. A lot of people have been asking about the Crew Chief app and the spotter pack that I use in that. I've seen a lot of discussions on Facebook. A lot of people ask me on my streams. And just yesterday, my buddy Cody asked about it in iRacing discussion page. So I thought I would just do a quick video and show you what my settings are, what I run. So let's hop right into it. So right now, you got to make sure that your application is off. So right here, you would start application to have it on, stop application. That way you can adjust your properties. I leave my message volume kind of low and my background volume extremely low. Here, where it says my name, this is where you can choose what it calls you, what the crew chief calls you. Chief voice, I go with Jim. That's the default. Spotter voice, I go with Matt. It's one of the more clear American dialects. That's the one I like the best. Then over here under properties, this is where all the settings are. But first of all, game, of course. If you're on iRacing, choose iRacing. There's a whole lot of list of games that this works with. I've only used it on iRacing, so I'm not sure how everything there works on other games. Sound pack's up to date, driver names are up to date, personalizations are up to date, so everything's been up to date. Also on this main screen, you can use voice command to talk to your crew chief. I do not like that feature in this. It's a little difficult, it's a little wonky for me, so I choose not to use it. But let's head over here to the properties. First thing, game filter, you got iRacing right here at the top. And this will be all of them. So just going through them here. Alarm time, I have nothing. Custom device, nothing. Enable simple incident detection, race only. So that's that way we don't have stuff in practice and qualifying for incidents, you know. Chat free dictation is chat. Interrupt regular messages, set to spotter only. So I've got this to spotter only. So this way, if the crew chief's rambling about something, you know, whatever it is, I want my spotter to override anything it says. I'd much rather my spotter talk than my crew chief talk. iRacing Launch EXE, I don't have it set up to launch with iRacing. Yeah, I just open it up when I go. It goes to my wave output, which is in audio output interface. Goes to my wave output. Override default sound pack, nothing there. Speech recognition country, I don't use speech recognition, so I don't have anything there. The speak recognizer trigger word, if you were to use it, you could use it as chief. So you could say, for example, chief, how am I looking on fuel? I do not use it. TTS settings, I do not use. UI language, nothing. Watched opponent names, nothing. Down here we have enable alarm clock voice commands. That's unticked. Enable automatic telemetry disc recording. Untick that. Update game plugins on startup. I have that ticked. Enable the blue flag messages. I have that ticked. Very, very good to have in road course racing. Enable breath and pause. Enable chat telemetry and race session, or chart telemetry and race session. Sorry, I don't have that. Enable voice command macros. It's on. Enable console auto scroll. Enable console logging, I have ticked. Enable controller POV switches is ticked. I have no idea what that does. Delay messages on hard parts, no idea what that is. I have it unticked. Enable delayed voice command responses, unticked. Enable driver names. So if you ever hear, you know, Smith is taking the lead, that's where it comes from. Enable frozen order messages. Enable fuel messages. I like to have those. He'll tell you that you have about a gallon left or 3 laps left or however the fuel is registering to the crew chief. They'll tell you. Enable gap messages. They'll tell you how far back the guy is behind you, how far ahead the guy is in front of you. Enable green light messages. That's a green flag. Enable iRacing FCY pit state messages. That is ticked. Enable iRacing pit stop voice commands ticked. Enable multi-class messages ticked. Enable closed channel beep unticked. Let's go ahead and scroll this up. So now we have enable opponent crash message. So he often says he binned it. So Johnson has binned it. Enable opponent pit exit estimates. That's good on road courses. For ovals, and enable enhanced spotter on ovals. This spotter pack is the absolute best at 3 wide. I've used Jimmy Johnson's spotter pack. I've used the iRacing spotter. I've used a lot of different spotter packs. This is absolutely the best when it comes to 3 wide because it tells you where you are on the 3 wide. Now, if you're on the bottom and you're 3 wide, you know you're 3 wide bottom. But if you're in the middle and you don't see the guy shoot it to the outside or shoot it to the inside, it'll tell you 3 wide middle. And then it'll also clear you high or clear you low. I love that. Enable overlays unticked. Enable pearls of wisdom ticked right there. That was one Cody was asking about. Enable pearls of wisdom. Enable the pit position estimates. Enable position messages. Enable race start messages. Enable radio beeps. That's on. Enable rants. That's a lot of fun sometimes. Enable session and end messages. That's on. So at the end of qualifying, they'll tell you where you ended up. And shared memory is unticked. Spotter is ticked for sure. Enable spotter and time trial. I have it unticked. Enable subtitle overlay unticked. Enable yellow flag messages is ticked. Frequency of being overtaken messages 3. Frequency of car close and head report 6. Frequency of car close behind 4. Frequency of gap ahead 7. Gap behind 4. So basically what that says is that he'll report on guys catching you more than guys that you're catching. I think it's easier to see guys that I'm catching, not as easy to see guys that are catching me, so I have it set this way. Frequency of opponent practice lap and qualifying times. Frequency of opponent race lap times. Frequency of overtaking messages. That's at 7. Frequency of pearls of wisdom. I've got mine at 5. Frequency of player practice and qualifying times report. I have at 6. Frequency of player race lap times is set to 4. Frequency of player practice qualify sector delta reports at 6. Frequency of race sector delta reports, I have that at 2. I love having that. Allow opponent names in my list is unticked. Play important messages when silenced is unticked. Always report time in hundredths, that is ticked. Play race notes automatically in practice, or pace notes, sorry, it's unticked. Block sounds which refer to drivers as male, you can do that. It always refers to the other driver as male. Probably should tick that, so. Let's see here. Ensure game is on top for voice command macros is ticked. Cache sounds is ticked. Confirm each pace note and stage ticked. Delete iRacing telemetry unticked. Disable alternative unticked. Disable behavior voice commands unticked. Disable overlay voice commands unticked. Display session lap times, that is ticked. Mute spotter immediately on full course caution. That is key, especially on ovals. You don't want him spotting you under caution, outside, still there, under caution. Tick that. Force minimum window size is ticked. Force seated track mode for VR, that's unticked. I don't use VR. Force single class unticked. Play messages in stereo. In audio only, I have it unticked. Insert beep in between spotter and crew chief, that is ticked. I don't have them beep out, that's unticked. Enable iRacing auto refueling when pit in race. I have that ticked. It'll calculate how much fuel you need to get to the end of the race. It's fairly accurate. I use sim racing apps to do all my fuel calculations. I have used this before, it's fairly accurate. iRacing faster parser is ticked. iRacing FCY unticked. iRacing invalid cut track is ticked. So if you have an off on a road course, it'll let you know. iRacing tire pressure adjustments in PSI, I have it unticked. Launch iRacing is unticked. Lazy load subtitles is unticked. Load sound files on startup is ticked. Log type unticked for debug. Log type for fuel is ticked. Log type verbose unticked. Log tire stats unticked. Enable overlay app unticked. Manual formation lap double file start, that's ticked. Manual formation go when leader crosses the line, go. That is ticked. Manual formation lap separate classes is ticked. Minimize on startup, minimize detray, both unticked. Multi-lap pace notes is ticked. Mute messages when playing pace notes, that's ticked. Safe pit stop benchmark times the disk, that's ticked. Now, this will give you pit box countdowns. I do not use this. I have used it in the past. I don't feel it's as accurate as sim racing apps. I feel like sim racing apps countdown to the pit box is much better. It's a more clear 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Where this one, it's a little bit. Play with it. It's good. It works. I personally don't care for it. So I have all the pit box distance stuff unticked. Play cut track warnings ticked. Enable pit speed limiter warnings. I have that unticked. Yet, yes, I have that unticked. Play pre-lights messages until canceled. Practice qualifying. Reports in each sector I have ticked. Practice qualified sector unticked. Prefer alternative download unticked. Base fuel calculations on max fuel consumption unticked. Prefer Windows speech recognizer unticked. I don't use speech recognizer. Advanced message prioritization I have unticked. Race sector reports at each sector I have unticked. If that's something you want, I can see where you would use that. Race sector reports at the lap end. Now that's what I use. Realistic mode unticked. Record sound and variety unticked. Block messages when talking to the chief unticked. I don't talk to the chief. Report all laps when hot lapping / lone practice. I love that. Report yellows in all sectors. I have that unticked. I don't care. If I'm in sector 1 and there's a caution going down in sector 3, they'll have it cleaned up before the time I get there. Don't care. Run immediately, I've ticked. Save driver names with no sound, untick. Right speech recognition, debug, unticked. Scroll bars on main window, unticked. Show splash screen, ticked. Always show VR settings, Windows overlay. I have it ticked, I don't use VR. Slow car class warnings, I have that ticked. It's great in a race with multi-class. It's fantastic. Spotter enable 3 wide left and right. Fantastic. Check that. That's great. Identify opponents by driver's name. Love it. Identify opponents by car number. You could do that if you raced in a league and you always knew that guy. Identify opponents by race position. I like that. That's, P1 is this, P2 is that. Auto-tune speech recognition thresholds. I have it ticked. Respond to voice commands immediately. I have it unticked. I don't use them. Start Steam VR if detected. Don't use it. Use alternate beeps. I have that ticked. Here's one that I'm glad I found. Use American terms. I have that ticked. Use Fahrenheit for temps. I have that ticked. Enable free chat. Free dictation chat messages. Unticked. Use a listen beep. It's ticked. Use end of listening beep. It's ticked. Use metric. Absolutely not. I have no idea what it is. I don't know what 13 degrees Celsius means. Use in audio for playback. Use in audio for speech. Both unticked. Use sweary messages. I think that's when he cusses at you. So you can go ahead and tick that if you want that or not. Use verbose command responses. I do not. Enable VR. It's ticked. I never use it. Ambient temp check. Every 120 seconds, I'm gonna check the temperature. Hold button 100. Max complaints per session is 50. Max distance moved for yellow 10. Minimum time between personalized 60. Minimum time between pearls of wisdom 40. If you need more pearls of wisdom, you can bump that up. In audio wasp is at 40. Channel count for in audio 1. Sample depth for in audio 16. Sample rate for in audio 8,000. Pit box countdown I do not use, but mine's at 30. Simple incident detection 2,000 milliseconds. Spotter clear delay. You can turn this down. I have mine at 150. So if you want to be cleared a lot quicker, turn that down. Spotter hold repeat frequency 3. Spotter hold repeat frequency 3 for ovals. Spotter oval clear delay. There's another one at 500. I like to make sure I'm good and clear. Spotter overlap delay 50. Spotter update interval 50. SRE delay 0. How long to wait for speech recognition? 2000. Multi-class faster car warning time 15. That seems to be a good setting for that when a faster car is coming. Multi-class slower car warning 15. That seems to be good as well. Time after race start for spotter 20 seconds. You could get that to go a little bit sooner if you wanted. I believe that's milliseconds. I've never had a problem with it set at 20. Time between caution period, status reminder 60. Track temp, check interval every 60 seconds. They check track temp. Trigger word listen 5000. Trim end of TTS sound 600. Trim start of TTS 100 milliseconds. Update interval 100. Update interval when collecting telemetry 16. Additional fuel to finish a race, number of laps worth. I've set it 0 because I don't use this much. Max closing speed for spotter 12. Minimum speed for spotter 10. Minimum name voice recognition counts 0.4. This is all voice recognition. I don't use it, but mine's 0.4, 0.7, 0.5, 0.75. 0 pause. Report ambient temp changes greater than 2 degrees. Every 2 degrees I want an update. Track temp changes 2 degrees. I have it as well. Spotter gap for clear 1/2, 0.5. Spotter volume boost, I have it 1. And trigger words I don't use, but I'm at 0.7, 0.96. TTS volume boost, I'm at 2. Alright, there's a quick shakedown. Only about 16 minutes. Hopefully that helps you. Good luck.